Hi everyone, Al Hackney here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I get to speak to everyone in the book community, whether they be authors, illustrators, podcasters, or industry professional. And today I can't wait to go wild with the author of the Wilder Zoo series, who's also a conservation officer. Please welcome Tina Strachan.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much. Tell me, this Wilder Zoo story.
hmm
Firstly, how did you come up with the story and how did you kind of plot a series of it?
Mm. Yeah, well, okay. Well, how did I come up with it? So, as you sort of mentioned before, I am still a wildlife conservation officer. And so I've worked with wildlife for 20 years, and 10 of those years was working in zoos. So, there's lots of cool, fun stories that I can come up with of adventures that kids can have in a zoo. And the thought of living in a zoo, because so the series is called Wilder Zoo, and it's about a girl called Neeka Wilder who is 11 years old, and she lives in the zoo with her family. And she's very lucky because she wants to be a zoo vet when she grows up, just like her mum, who is the head vet at Wilder Zoo. So she just spends all her days hanging out with the keepers and the vets and the vet nurses and the animals, and just learning everything that she can so that she could be a zoo vet when she grows up as well. So yeah, so something like that set in a zoo, I think, just, they say write what you know, and I have lots of cool adventures. She's got a lot more cool adventures, I have to say, than what I have. I didn't get to live in a zoo, but it felt like it at times. Yeah, so I guess that was the basis of it, just drawing on all that fun stuff, trying to share the kind of behind the scenes feels. I think, just it's very special working so close with some of the most beautiful animals, and sometimes the most threatened animals in the world. It's a very privileged experience. So yeah, I think just trying to get a lot of that sort of background vibe that only someone who's probably worked or lived in a zoo can experience. So it's pretty cool. So I wanted to share that with the kids. But when it comes to plotting a series, so there's going to be 3 books in the series. So the first one's called Neeka and the Missing Key, and the second one's called Neeka and the Storm, which only came out last month. And the third one is going to be called Neeka and the Great Search, and that one comes out in about another 6 months. And they are all standalone, though. So you don't have to read, there's no book 1, 2, or 3. You can pick one up whenever and read it. But there is still, there's a little bit of a natural arc if you do go from 1, 2, and 3.
So please don't tell me the great search as if a python gets loose or something like this.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Wait
But
and
no,
see that one.
no pythons in that one, I don't think.
Okay, inspiration for the next one. So this
Mm.
is exciting. So you were in a zoo for such a long time. What made you want to write? Was it just not wanting to lose the stories, or was it seeing how kids were reacting to these animals?
Yeah, well, writing came before animals for me, or probably at the same time, actually. Someone asked me on the weekend what books I used to read when I was younger, and I just always think of this photo of me that my mum has when I was about 6, and I'm holding this like it's like a reference book, like a non-fiction book, because I loved those books when I was younger, and it's about like vets and what to do, like kind of first aid and health and care for your pets that you have at home. So we had a dog, we had a cat, and so my parents just had this like pet vet book. And I don't know why, I remember distinctly like pictures of dogs with like things in their eyes and skin conditions, and pictures of ticks and like worms. I don't know why, but I just love this book. And isn't it funny, because I ended up studying vet nursing, and I have books like that now about vet nursing. So yeah, I think just one of those things that was always there for me. And as was writing, I loved reading, and I was writing from like 8, 9, 10, and so that was always there. Like most people, though, I wrote for the fun of it. Being published was totally, I didn't even know if that was a thing. That wasn't a thing. That's just for those really successful authors that you hold up on this huge pedestal. That was never going to be a thing. So yeah, I just wrote for the fun of it, and yes, I just now managed to combine the two loves and I get to write about wildlife. So that's pretty cool.
So, three books in, I think December 2025 is your third book when it's released. What do you know now that you didn't at the beginning of your publishing journey?
Mm. A lot. I think it's hard to pick just one thing, I suppose, but I've treated this whole ride like, oh, and whole journey as like a masterclass in writing and a masterclass in publishing, which I knew nothing about. Writing's been really awesome because you're very privileged to work with some incredible editors and publishers, from people who do typesetting to copyright to, copy editors and, yeah, just all that side of it, working with those professionals. You just learn so much. So I'm just trying to suck it all up and learn that for next time. And it's great because then you can apply it for each book afterwards. I mean, I knew how long publishing takes, but now that I've seen it in practice, so it was 2 years from when I signed to when my first book hit the shelves. So it'll be 3 years by the time the last book hits. And but I get that now, that there's a team there that is working nonstop to try and get this book out. The Waterloo series, it has quite a lot of illustrations in them as well by the incredible Max Hamilton, who is just an amazing illustrator, and she draws animals so well. So I've been very grateful to work with her. But there's that whole side of it. She has to read it and draw it and come up with the ideas for what to illustrate. And yeah, I can see now there's so much back and forth at different stages and checking and all that kind of thing. I absolutely see. And the sell-in period, like 6 months before it hits the shelves, things are already happening 3 months before. So I understand that now. It makes complete sense as to why it takes so long.
Once you were signed and now having three books in the series, did you find working on a timeline was a bit harder to do?
Yeah, so I think the short answer is probably yes, because when you don't have a timeline but your own, say, you can just wander off. You can do 10,000 words over here. You can do 10,000 words over there. You can chuck them all in the bin. It doesn't matter, but when you have a deadline, and so, I mean, my deadlines weren't particularly short, but there's still a deadline there. And so I think you do think in your head, where are you going? You can't write that. Make sure you stick to the plan, because you don't have time to wander off over there and throw out some words and things. And although that's actually the natural process of writing, I don't think there's many people who just write it all out on the page and don't change a single word or a single aspect of the plot. So I think, yeah, it's just always there in the back of your mind anyway. So that's definitely there. But yeah, so I signed the books on sample chapters and a pitch. So I hadn't actually finished one. But in that time, so there's lots of processes that happen between sending it to the publisher and them going, yeah, I really like it, to them, the multiple different teams that they have to then send it through. So their own team, the wider team, all these other teams, the big acquisitions meeting, that you hear about, where everybody's there actually trying to identify ways or things that would make it not sell in a way. So the publisher has to almost kind of have an answer for everything, because they're just trying to, it happens a lot in business, I'm sure. People come up with an idea, how can we make this work? So there's all these steps. So in that time, I just decided to keep writing it anyway. I loved the premise of it. I loved writing those sample chapters. So I thought, I'm just going to go with it anyway. If they don't, and if it doesn't get across the line, I've written it anyway and I've loved it, and that's it. And I didn't realize that it was going to be pitched for 3 either. I just thought it was going to be 1. So I was just writing it like it was 1, which was great. So that flowed really easily. But then, of course, after that, having deadlines, things did get a little bit trickier.
Wow. So let's just backtrack on that one. You pitched it without a full manuscript. So
Yes.
I find that mind blowing. So did you have to pitch how the story was going to end in its total, or did you just send the sample chapters, send the synopsis, and then let the publisher decide?
Yeah, so I sent probably the first third, so probably like the first act, that natural sort of conclusion of that first act where it's kind of set up and like what's going to happen next. And yeah, I did a full sort of query letter type thing. So, a reasonable synopsis, maybe like 600 words. I might have kept it to because I think that's the recommended sort of number, which is hard when you haven't finished it. But I often know where my story's going before I even start writing words. I often know where it's going to end. I think I put a lot of thought into it first before I start writing. So I could do that. I think it's also really helpful doing, I know a lot of people are like, have said to me they just can't believe that I would do a synopsis before writing it. But honestly, I think it's really helpful because it's helpful to find those pivotal moments, and does it have enough like enough of a crisis sort of moment? Is there enough drama in it? Like, is there enough of a turning point? I think it's when you look at it really high level like that, even if you haven't read it yet, but you have an idea, I think it's really helpful to make sure you're on the right track. So I urge everyone to give that a try if you're thinking of writing something and you haven't started it yet. So I did that, and then I pitched. I have all these ideas for all these. I think I sent like a whole page of like one-liners of this and this happens, but will this and this be okay? And then one day this and this, and so like book 3, book 4, book 5. I think I did like 20 of them. I was like, we can work through any of them. It's such a cool setting, and it's such a cool world. And there's so many amazing things that you can do with like animals and kids and living in a zoo, so I just had all these ideas, and I just pitched them to just all of them. I was just like, look, here you go. Here, I can come up with lots of ideas. So, so I think that was all that they needed at the time. So, yeah, it's unusual. You can't often. I don't suggest pitching publishers on an extract of your book. Definitely make sure you have it finished. It was just, I guess, the circumstances, and I'd made a connection with Lisa Berryman, who's my publisher at HarperCollins, and I made that connection through the CYA conference and winning the competition that they had. So my prize was 15 minutes with Lisa, and I had won on something completely different, but it was just spending the time and chatting with Lisa and making that connection, and then talking about my experience and books and writing for middle grade. That was how we ended up just sending in some samples and going from there.
See, I find that fascinating because for me, I'm the other way. I have to finish something before I pitch it, because sometimes I've actually gone down a rabbit hole where my plot has changed a little bit. But I think also that would hold you accountable, wouldn't it? Like, nothing says write it, get it done, then one of the biggest publishers going, yeah, we want that.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I know. Yeah, no one's saying no to that or making them wait.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I agree. And look, in saying all that though, and because so oftentimes when you've published and you've got a few books under your belt, you can just then pitch the idea like to them first, because you have that connection, you've got that proven experience, and they know that you can produce the work. So instead of waiting and you writing it for a year or two, you can pitch it first and sort of get that. You could sign it on that as well. But I think that's only because you do have that history, I guess. It can change. Like it can, like if, and it did, like books that I pitched, I think I did synopsis 2 and 3 in the end when I knew it was going to be 3 books. The third one completely changed. It wasn't even what I pitched. So it definitely can. And I think they know that. They know that if they're asking for a synopsis, they know that once you start writing it, things always change. So as long as it's not, a romance and you turn it into a sci-fi or something like that, like it's completely different.
Or like that rom-com, that rom-com doesn't turn out well.
Yeah. Don't be too crazy, but yeah, and just always run it past them first. But yeah, they understand. They've been in this business.
So you had 20 log lines for the Wild Zoo, which is impressive because clearly 20 years working or 10 years working in a zoo, doing the conservation bit, you've got plenty of inspiration. So do you feel you're going to concentrate on the Wild Zoo, or do you have other stories?
I do have other stories. I always have other stories. I am always writing. I'm an everyday writer. So if I don't have edits or anything due for Wilder Zoo, I'm working on other stuff. Yeah, so middle grade again, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully that will, hit the shelves at some point. But apart from that, yeah, I love writing lots of different things and different genres as well. So I'll just keep writing what I love and see where that goes.
And you did mention CYA conference. Did you find leading up to your success with this first book release, did you attend many of those, CYA conference, Kidlit Vic, all these conferences? How many did you kind of attend or mingle with prior?
Zero.
Oh,
Zero. And the reason for that was I had a bit of a break writing. I'm talking like in my 20s and stuff. I was doing uni, I was being 20, I was traveling the world, I was just, doing all those sorts of things. And then in my 30s, when I had kids, like it's that common story, right? I was at home but always I'm thinking of stories in my head always. And it's just what happens. And yeah, in my 30s, being at home with my kids and, that period of time when like it's busy, right? But like when they have those big sleeps and like for some people, I was very lucky that my kids had these big sleeps and I just thought, oh, I've just got to start writing and just set your alarm for an hour and just write for an hour and just see where that goes. Cause the stories just needed to sort of, come out to the paper. And so I started doing that but still never thinking of being published. And, at one point I had this full manuscript and I didn't quite know what to do with it. And I was editing and tinkering and just doing that for ages. And then one night it was very late at night. I think it closed that night or the next day for the CYA competition. And the thing that really sparked my interest was that you get all of the judges' feedback, which is hugely important and hugely beneficial. And it takes the CYA organizers a lot of work to make sure everybody gets their feedback. But I was just like, this is perfect because I'm not really putting myself out there too much. No one's really going to know that I entered, but I'm going to get the feedback. And that's exactly that. That'll be so good. Like, is it okay? I just wanted to know, is it okay? Should I keep going with this thing? Should I just throw it in the bin? What should I do? And yeah, and that's when I actually won that category, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. So it wasn't that was my first experience with it. And so then I started obviously getting involved a lot more. I was one of those people that wrote secretly, and not keeping it a secret, it was just like my hobby. And I don't know, I just didn't tell people about it. And it wasn't, I think that was a little bit of validation in winning that oh, actually no, you can write, so mate, you can tell people about it now. You can join a writers group, you can join a critique group. Like it's so silly. I think of all the years that I wasted like missing out on connections and networking and making the friends that I have made now. I could have been doing that years before if I just sort of admitted to it. But I think that's just life, isn't it? And that's my journey. So
and I've seen that you've done some speaking conferences as well as a book launch recently. When new authors approach you, what's the advice you give?
I think the number one thing is just getting your work out there. Like writing, okay, get the words down for starters. I think it's very tempting and very easy to get involved in lots of writery things, writing aligned things, but no words on the page. And so I think that can be quite distracting sometimes. Still beneficial, but really getting the words down and getting a manuscript finished. If you want to be published, I mean, not everybody does. A lot of people just write for the fun of it. But if you do want to be published, make sure you get the words down. But then get your work out there. So send it into CYA, get some feedback, join a critique group, join a writing group, just put it out there, because it's a step in the right direction and no one's going to sign anything if they can't see it.
Now, also, you're passionate about conservation as well. How does that weave in with your story? Do you sort of teach people how, when they see injured animals, what to do, or do your books kind of touch on look after the environment? How do you weave that into your stories?
Yeah, I do it very gently. I don't want to be pushing anything. Kids can smell a lesson from a mile away, and they do not enjoy that in their books potentially, especially not, so I'm definitely just more focused on, it's adventure and it's friendship and it's family and it's animals. And I'd like it to have an impact in a conservation way positively, but almost so it just happens naturally. And you finish reading the book and you don't know that there's any sort of lessons to be learnt there. But I think the biggest thing is people connecting with animals. If they don't see the animals, it's human nature. If people don't see them, like, it's with zoos, right? People have opinions about zoos, but if we don't, as humans, don't see the animals, well, we don't really connect with them, and therefore we don't value them as much, and we won't support them as much and support the wildlife conservation. It's just how we go. Imagine if we didn't have koalas in zoos. Like, people rarely see them in the wild, especially up here in Queensland. Rarely see them in the wild, but they're there and they're suffering. And if they hadn't ever have been in zoos and people got to see them and smell them and touch them and enjoy them, that connection and that community desire and now, thankfully, legislative requirements to protect them probably wouldn't be in place. It's just how we work. So, by just talking about the animals, trying to, I guess, help the readers feel like they're there with them and seeing them and smelling them and touching them. I tell people all the time, I wrote a lot of the scenes in here with my eyes closed because I was just trying to remember the feelings and the smells and everything of actually working with them in real life. Just by doing that, it creates that connection and, that really subtle, gentle messaging of wildlife conservation, hopefully is enough for the kids to, get that vibe of wildlife conservation and want to help.
Yeah, and such an important message as
Mm.
well. Do you have a favorite zoo animal?
People ask me this all the time, and it's really hard. I don't know. I feel like I should say koalas because I've worked with them for so long, and that's the majority of what I do now still. But what I really enjoyed working with, I love big raptors and I love owls. And so I've been so fortunate to travel the world and work with animals. And so things like I love our wedge-tailed eagles, our beautiful big wedge-tailed eagles, and our sea eagles, and we have some of the most incredible owl species in the world here. But I've been fortunate enough to visit San Diego Zoo, where they do the Californian Condor project, which is incredible. They literally brought those animals back from the brink of extinction. And the harpy eagle. I don't know if you know what a harpy eagle is, but I suggest Googling it. I think just their strength, they're incredible. Some of the video footage, they eat sloths, so that gives you some kind of idea of how big they are. So I just find them incredible, and so really, they're really awe-inspiring, I think. But I love all the animals.
Oh, I love that. Now, Tina, you've had such an amazing writing journey. So not only how you started by pitching with an unfinished manuscript to now having signed a series with HarperCollins, you've had an amazing journey with zoo and conservation. If anyone watching this video would like to contact you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can. I do have a website, so it's just tinastrachan.com. So TINASTRACHAN. Bit of a funny last one there. And also on Instagram is probably the best place, to be honest. So if you just type my name in, it should come up. Otherwise, it's TD_Strachan.
Perfect. So anyone watching this video today, let's support Tina and the work she does. We want to make sure we see more books, more wildlife adventures, and also more conservation awareness. Tina, thank you so much for joining me today. I've absolutely loved chatting with you.
Oh, I've loved chatting with you too. Thank you so much. This is an incredible YouTube station, and some incredible interviews on here, and you're doing amazing work helping support all us authors.